Okay. Okay, evening, everybody. Uh, Today I touch on something called 360 photography, immersive 360 photography. Okay. This was actually using for have very good usage on the particularly on product. Selling or something. Okay, like real estate. Okay, for the property agent, or even the those commercial buildings, like shopping center, even green city, they actually have this, okay, so that you can actually virtually go to their store and look up for items, and then they can put a lot of the instructions or whatever explanations within their photos, so you can have a very good experience, in virtual, because of this pandemic. Okay, will be locked down, so a lot of people moving into these directions. Okay, so for this, they will actually more and more, company offer the same service. Okay, so as you can see, the you can have a lot of things. Okay, they even have museum. You have museum at, the virtual tour, all these, so that you can actually uh, doing it. Okay, and many people actually offer this service. Okay, they offer this service to create this either 360 video or 360 photograph. Okay, but the thing is, there's difference actually. For 360, people will always think that actually is look like 3D. Okay, VR. Okay, 3D VR, 3D different. 3D meaning that they have a camera. Okay, they have camera. They have camera that actually taking the um, okay, they have camera that taking the video. Okay, is, as you can see, the camera is actually where is it? Oh, 3D camera. Okay, you look at the camera, something like this. Okay, you can see that actually the camera itself have two lenses on the same plane. Okay, meaning that it will mimic the human eyes on a different side. So when the image come out, okay, after processing, it will be 3D. Okay, then 360 will be different. Okay, 360 will be the lens actually is front and back. Okay, as you can see, it's actually front and back. Okay, front and back also have lenses. Okay, and this lens have about 200. It's a 200-degree fish eye, meaning that they can actually cover the entire image. Okay, the entire image. Then with this, then the software will able to stitch both sides, the overlapping portion, and come out as one full picture. Okay. Okay, you can see this, right? Okay, this is actually okay. As you see, this is actually the picture taking from both sides of the lens. As you can see, some of the things are overlaps. Okay, there's overlaps. Okay, when they take it, okay, it'll be something like this because the fish eye, so the image are distorted. Okay, but after the when they process, okay, it will process something like this. Okay, it will stitch up or something like this. Okay, this was actually the 360-degree view of the photograph itself. Okay. I mean, some of them, like the other time, this Bing Cheng was actually having it is they have one lens on top. Okay, is able to view the entire 360-degree as one sphere. So after that, you can actually use software to, I mean, to flatten it. Then it will be 360-degree. Okay, the camera itself, as you can see, they have many 360-degree cameras. Okay, they have something like range from few hundreds, okay, to few thousands. Yeah, of course, some of them are very good. I mean, they can do both. Okay, some is only 360-degree, but some they actually can do. This one can do 360-degree and via video itself, and also 4K. That's why it's so expensive. Okay. Of course, I mean, you can see this. This is actually the cheapest. Okay. It's the cheapest small camera, okay, on both sides. You plug into your, you can plug into your phone, okay, and your phone will be able to take a 360-degree. Okay, so it costs only $69. So not necessary, I mean, it will be more expensive lah. I mean, you can have a different pricing, okay, as you can see, right? Of course, I mean, they have others main functions. I mean, the camera itself is able to take a photo, and then
There's no sound.
yeah, I know. Where is it? Share.
Tours are now becoming very popular as a way of showing people who are stuck at home, who can't go out, who can't go to these businesses that are closed anyway. You're staying well, hope you're healthy. Today in this video, I'm going to... Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're staying well, hope you're healthy. Today in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to create a virtual tour using any kind of 360 camera. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I've had a lot of people sending in questions asking me, how do I create virtual tours? How do I create virtual tours for my business? I've had people from museums, people who own real estate companies, people who sell houses. Virtual tours are now becoming very popular as a way of showing people who are stuck at home, who can't go out, who can't go to these businesses that are closed anyway, showing them the inside, you know, of houses, of museums, of all kinds of different industries. I'm going to show you step by step how to easily create a full virtual tour using any kind of 360 camera like these. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using the all-in-one 360 cameras. So the ones that look like this, that usually have two lenses or maybe multiple lenses, and they can shoot full 360 photos in just one shot. The first thing we're going to go through is the equipment that you'll need to create your virtual tour. First and foremost, you're going to need a 360 camera. Now, there are many 360 cameras available right now, so you may be a bit confused as to which one to buy, which one is best for virtual tours. I'm going to do a whole different video explaining that and going into detail, doing some comparisons. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be using the Ricoh Theta Z1, which for me is probably the best all-round virtual tour camera right now. However, it is out of stock in many places. I can't really see it available anywhere at the moment, because a lot of people are, you know, getting onto this virtual tour craze. Another camera that's available and is probably my second choice is the Insta360 ONE-R. This is also a decent camera for shooting virtual tours if you use the right settings, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Quite significantly cheaper than the Z1 as well. So either of these cameras will do, but to be honest, this tutorial will apply to basically any 360 camera, so you don't need to worry too much. The only other thing you'll need is some kind of tripod or monopod to hold the camera. So it needs to be tall tall enough that it reaches the height of an average human. So probably roughly my height, like I'm 5'9", 175 centimeters. If the camera is roughly that tall, then it's going to be fine because you want to mimic the height of a person when you shoot your virtual tours. You also need to make sure that the tripod or monopod you choose is specifically works well with 360 cameras. Now an example of that is something like this. This is a monopod, however it has an attachment here that obviously works as a tripod. So you just pull the legs out, attach this to this, and it works as a tripod. Now the reason this is great for 360 cameras is because it has nothing here at the top that would interfere with the camera. So if we attach it here, so every 360 camera has a blind spot underneath it where the tripod goes. So that means the tripod is invisible to the camera. It means far less editing, means less interference. You don't want anything that has any protruding parts at the top or really anywhere throughout the whole tripod, ideally. But this is actually quite an expensive setup. It's one of the more expensive specific 360 camera monopod setups you can get. If you want something a bit cheaper, you can also buy a light stand, which works in much the same way. However, it does have a wider base, so it will be slightly more visible in your 360 images. I'll also post a link to where you can get one of those as well. In terms of software, make sure you download the app and the desktop software for whichever 360 camera you get. For example, the Insta360 One R has its own app where you can manage, stitch, and edit your photos. However, it also has a desktop app, and I prefer to use that as it's much easier to manage your images on a desktop. If you want to get the absolute best out of your 360 images, then I suggest you also subscribe to the Adobe Suite, even if you just need to do it for a little while, for just a few weeks or a month. Download Photoshop and Lightroom because those programs will allow you to get the maximum quality out of your images, and I'll explain why later. Specifically, if you go for the Ricoh Theta Z1, Adobe Lightroom is an absolute must to get with this camera. So that's basically all you're going to need to start to create your virtual tour. Now, let's say that in the environment that you're going to shoot, so you're in a flat that you're selling, or a house, or you're in a museum, or a construction site, wherever you want to shoot your virtual tour. To set up, you literally just attach your camera to your tripod. You place the tripod at, say, roughly the height of an average human, like I said, and you put it in a central position where it's not too close to any specific object. You want to make sure that there's no walls or no objects within about a meter of the camera. Now you're going to want to go into the camera settings and choose which kind of photos you want to take. This is where it gets a little bit complex if you're not really into photography, if you've never really dealt with cameras before. Now there are basically two options that I go for and that most other 360 photographers go for. All of the 360 cameras that I suggest have a HDR mode and RAW mode. So I'm going to explain what those two are and what the difference between them is and why you should shoot in these modes. You're going to want to choose either one of these. Do not just go with a standard image because it won't look good enough. You can get much higher quality images if you shoot in either HDR or RAW. Let's start with HDR. Shooting in HDR will allow the camera to shoot much higher quality images than if you just shot with the normal mode. Basically, when the camera shoots in HDR, it shoots three individual images, one light, one normal, one dark, and then combines them together. That creates a much higher quality image. The cameras do this automatically, so you don't have to do any editing. It all combines those three images itself and spits out the final image. So it's ready to go. You don't need to do anything to it. You don't need to do any editing if you don't want to. I mean, you obviously could if you wanted to slightly adjust things, but it's a great way of getting a high quality image automatically without doing any editing. Most virtual tours are going to be shot inside, and you're going to want to shoot them in daylight. You're going to want to shoot them with lots of artificial lights, all the lights on, as much light as possible. When you do this, you may see some overexposure in the windows. You may not be able to see outside. It may be too bright. There may be light beams shooting out of artificial light sources. Now, HDR really helps to get rid of those, and it really makes a virtual tour much more realistic and much more attractive. So that's the kind of look we're going for, and HDR helps us to achieve that. The other shooting option is DNG RAW. Now, this allows the camera to shoot the maximum best quality image that it possibly can. However, it does require editing in a program like Premiere Pro or Photoshop. So it is harder to achieve the final effect. However, the image quality that you can get is the highest possible. When you're shooting RAW, you'll shoot your image, and then when you take it and put it into the program, it won't look anything special, it won't look better, but what RAW allows you to do is to edit your photo without any loss of quality, so you can bring out so much more detail, you can bring out so many more colors, vibrance, you can get that effect where you can see outside of a window, get rid of all of the overexposure, underexposure, increase dynamic range. Basically, it just is the best way to get the best quality image out of these cameras. It's definitely worth learning how to edit RAW images in Photoshop or Lightroom with your 360 camera. It's not difficult, guys. I'm not going to go into it now, but it is literally a case of just putting it in the program, selecting some different options, and then you're done. As well as choosing HDR and RAW, there are also some other camera settings you can play with to get the best quality image out of these cameras. Most cameras will have a manual mode which will allow you to change things such as shutter speed, ISO, exposure. If you don't really understand what these things are, or you're not that familiar with cameras, don't be too afraid. Essentially, if the room is dark, if there's not that much lighting, and if you see on the preview that the image is dark, then you can lower the shutter speed so that it takes in more light and therefore the image is brighter. And if the image is very bright and the outside, the windows are overexposed, if there's too much overexposure, you can raise the shutter speed so that the camera doesn't take in as much light and you will have less of the overexposure. Try and keep the ISO to a minimum around about 100, and that reduces noise as much as possible. Basically, those are the only settings you should worry about. Just have a few practice goes and see which settings work best for the environment that you're in. And high quality virtual tours are worth the effort because they look better and people react to them better, and you're much more likely to, get the results you want from a high quality virtual tour than if you just shot lower quality. So you set up your camera, you've selected the right settings, and now we're going to go on to shooting. Now this is actually really easy. All of these 360 cameras are one-shot cameras, so you literally just have to press one button and it will shoot the 360 image straight away. It's literally just like using a phone or like using any other digital camera. The difference is that the 360 camera will shoot the entire room at once. It will shoot the full 360 image at the same time. So you need to not be in the room, you need to not be in the image. So you need to give yourself enough time to get out, to go into a different room while the camera takes the photo. To do that, you can either connect the camera to your phone. Each camera has its own phone app, and you can remotely activate the shutter from there by in a different room so you're not in the shot. Or you can select a timer to give yourself enough time to get out of the way. So choose one of those, get out of the way of the camera, go into a different room, and then shoot your photo, and it should be done pretty quickly. Or if you're in a large room or a large space, you're probably going to want to shoot more than one image. My rule is to move the tripod and the camera every 1.5 meters or so. But if the room is quite small, say it's a very small bedroom or a small bathroom, you may only need 1 or 2 images. But for a very large room, say a large living room, a living area, you may need 4 or 5. When you're shooting your virtual tour, make sure it's daylight, make sure that the light is fairly even. Usually you want to have all of the curtains open, you want to have all of the lights on, you want to have the room looking as best as it can. Let's move on to the editing process, because this is probably pretty much the hardest part of the whole thing, but still it's not too difficult. The only thing you need to consider is that 360 cameras and 360 photos require one extra editing point or editing process than normal images, and that's the stitching process. What you need to do is get your camera, plug it into your PC, open up the desktop software that came with your camera. It's always free, so you don't need to buy it. You'll be able to look in the 360 image and see what it looks like, and if you're happy with it, then you can export. And then when you export to a folder in your desktop, it will then stitch them together in the final 360 format, which you can then upload to wherever we need to upload it to. We'll go into that in a minute. The editing process is actually slightly different depending on which camera you use. For example, if you did go for the Ricoh Theta Z1 and you shot in HDR mode, then you don't need to do any stitching. The stitching is done automatically in the camera. You can literally just go into the camera, take the images out, and they're ready to go straight away. However, for the Insta360 1R, if you wish to shoot in HDR mode for that, you do need to drag those images in to the Insta360 1R desktop app and then do the exporting process that I just described. However, if you wanted to do some editing or you shot in that RAW mode, then there's a few extra steps we need to do. The process of editing RAW 360 photos is again different depending on which camera you get. If you were to get the Ricoh Theta Z1, then you need to drag the unstitched DNG image into Adobe Lightroom. There you can also download a plugin, the Ricoh Theta Stitcher plugin, which is free. Once you've installed that into Lightroom, you'll be able to edit your DNG file in Lightroom. So you just color correct, you do all the editing that you need to do. Then you right click on the image and select edit in Ricoh Theta Stitcher. This will then stitch the DNG raw image together into its final 360 form. Then you can export that as a JPEG, and then you are ready to go. With the Insta360 you need to drag the DNG raw image into the Insta360 Studio, stitch it, then take that image into either Lightroom or Photoshop and do the editing there. The DNG raw process is definitely easier and more efficient when using the Ricoh Theta Z1, which is part of the reason why I think it's the better 360 camera for virtual tours. So now we're going to go on to creating your virtual tour. There are many different programs and softwares available that allow you to create virtual tours and host them, and then host them on your website or however you want to share it. I personally really like a website called Kuula, Kuula. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've used that quite a lot. I'm a premium member of that service. It's not so expensive. You will probably need to pay for whatever one you choose if you want to get the a decent quality virtual tour. Kuula allows you to create virtual tours straight away. Very simply, drag and drop your images into the website. Then it will upload all of the images. You can then connect them with points, with hotspots. So when the viewer clicks on a hotspot, it will take them to the next image. You can put information tabs on there. You can even have music. You can have maps. You can have so many different things add to your image if you want to provide information to your viewer. Once you've uploaded your virtual tour, once you have added all the hotspots, all the labels, all the titles, everything you want to add to your images, you're ready to share it. So in the premium version of Kuula, it allows you to embed the virtual tour onto your website. It allows you to have that with your own branding without Kuula's branding. It allows you to choose different options. So you basically just need to go into the share tab, share options, choose the embed, copy the code, choose your options, and then put that into whichever web page you want in your website. Now your viewers can view your full virtual tour on your website. It can be viewed on a phone, it can be viewed on desktop, and on a virtual reality headset, which for me is the best way to view something, but it still looks great if you view it on a phone or on a desktop. I've used Kuula as the example for creating the virtual tour in this instance, but there are many available. So of course, Google what one is best for you. There are different price points, different capabilities. But yeah, it's basically a similar setup for every kind of virtual tour service that I've ever seen. Okay guys, so that is basically it. That is basically how you create a virtual tour. I know this is a very quick fire guide, but I mean, there isn't really not too much more to it. You may need to practice a few times. I would suggest doing a tour of your house or your business place on your own. Just do a practice one. But to be honest, after doing one or two, you'll pretty much nail it. The hardest part is the editing process, but you know, it takes roughly half an hour to work out how to do it. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Hopefully this will help a lot of people create virtual tours now during this time of lockdown, time that many people are not able to experience and go out and see things, and a time where businesses are really struggling. You'll find links to where you can get all of the cameras, all of the products and softwares that you'll need. Check out the description below. There are many more guides and videos on this channel that should be able to help you if you're worried about how to use the cameras or how to edit or how to create VR tours. I've done a few other videos about this subject before, so check those out and subscribe if you find it useful. That's it.
Okay, this was actually some short, introductions on, this guy talking about using a standard 3D camera, okay? 3D camera with able to actually take the photo as well as for the image. Okay, look at this. This is one of the camera he used, the Insta360 one. Okay, is about 25 US. It's not that expensive actually. Of course, the feature itself is not that many, but you pay what you get lah. Of course, I mean, they have a higher end version, okay? Some they actually can do video, okay, like this or this one. Okay, can do video with it. Then you'll be able to better, I mean, you can have more options. Of course, you pay more for that. Definitely, I mean, like Chen Hang asked, okay, whether China there is, of course, China definitely will have I mean, that's why I show you this. Shopee is China one, this one. Okay. Not that expensive, and then you actually put inside your phone. I mean, with the USB-C, okay, and they only have not 1060, okay. Okay, you can have about up to 5K, no, it's a 5K resolution. I don't know how true is it. Okay, video is 1920 by 960, so it's not 1080. It's slightly lower resolution, but for the price you pay, should be okay lah. Then for software itself, I mean, there are many platforms. There are many platforms that actually can create a virtual tour. Okay, one of the platform is this Metapod. Okay, one of the platform of this Metapod. Okay, you can try it for free. One user is free. I mean, you can look at the pricing. Okay, you can look at the pricing. Okay, pricing, they have this camera. They have this camera which costs about 2795 US dollar, 2000 over US dollar. Okay, then you can have this camera. Then you can actually, after you buy the camera, you can select their professional. Okay, about $69 per month. Okay, you get 25 active space and 5 users. Okay, or if you want to try, you can actually always free. Okay, in one active space and up to 2 users can view their space. Okay, this one will work with iPhone or Android phone with 360 camera support. Okay. And you find that one space is not enough, and then you can pay $9.99 per month for 5 active space. So this was, I mean, the thing. And then you can see the Okay, there are some other platforms like this. Okay, this is another one. Some from Singapore. They also offer some service. Okay, this is something like the what I mean the okay, how you navigate the buildings. Okay, you can see the whole floor plan itself, the entire floor plan. Okay, second floor. Okay, the entire floor plan. Then you can see the level, and then you can just play. You will be able to okay. So this was the entire things. I mean, of course you can see it. Okay, it's very complex. Our whole thing. Okay, very complex. Okay, first floor like that. Then you can actually seeing it. Okay, you can see here actually they blank off is because of the tripod lah. I mean, there's a tripod there. That's why they blank off. Okay. So as you move, you're able to move through the whole things. Okay. So same thing. I mean, you can see that actually they blank off, right? Because of their tripod leg or whatever standing there. They don't want it to be seen. Okay. So you can have all the view. Right. So this is another software. I mean, they call it the virtual edge. So this is another, I mean, service. Okay. Same thing if you look at their pricing. Where you say price based on your square footage. Production is 0.15 per square feet. Okay, so many people actually offer this service. Actually, you're saying that the GoPro Max will be one of the best 360 camera. Okay, it costs about $600. Okay, this is another one. Okay, for $600. Okay. So far, any question? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? I have finished